What's kicking? It's another episode of Pickin Fights. How are you, Tom?
I'm good, man. I'm so good. I'm excited to get this interview off. This is a little bit of uncharted territory for us. We keep bringing our subscribers and our viewers great content. Excited.
Yeah, well, we're very excited to bring you guys a very special guest tonight. His name is Patrick Ball. Like I said on our last show, you may not have heard of him yet, but you will very soon. How are you, Pat?
Doing good, guys. Thank you guys for having me on.
We're very happy to have you here. So, Pat, number one, what is your goal? Where do you see yourself at the end of your career?
Well, some short-term goals I have, for the year. I would like to fight, two more times this year, once in the summer, once maybe before the holidays. But, the ultimate goal for me is, within 2 years, get that pro contract and, just build on that. And, my goal, I want to fight the best guys in the world. I want to, as a competitor, I mean, that's always what your mindset should be is, be the best at what you love to do. And, a goal of mine is, always be like, I always grew up watching fights and whatnot, and always, said to myself, hey, listen, you put in the time, you put in the work, and, you could be in that situation too, fighting with these guys. And, personal goals of mine, just not just to prove, to friends and family, but to prove to myself, like, listen, I belong in that cage with these guys. And, just to, as a competitor, just, being able to put myself in that position would just be, great for me, hopefully in the coming years.
Yeah, we would love to see you there, man, especially after you're here. We're hoping that maybe a couple of years down the road, people are coming back to this video to see what was the part of Pat Ball's professional career. Where was he first? Another big question I would like to ask you, and this is something I have known you for a while. We haven't talked as much as we used to, but we always used to joke back in the day. We always used to say, that guy Pat Ball, he's a fighter. Always used to say that. But when did you seriously start training, and when did you decide to make this your life?
Right.
And how old are you now, too? Just for anyone who may not be familiar, give a quick rundown of, kind of your history up until this point.
Right. Just my personal, fighting history, or
whatever you want, man.
So, me and Keith know each other from high school, St. Peter's. I grew up in Brooklyn. I moved out to Staten Island when I was 16, 17, and my previous high school closed down, Bishop Ford in Brooklyn. And when I moved out to the island, I was in search for schools, and St. Peter's happened to be a fit, and that's how I, kind of met Keith and, linked up with him, became friends with him. We had I remember having some good memories with him in Hawaii and shit. Those were great times.
Some of my favorite stories.
Yeah, bro. There's some great times there. But I always was like a tough kid, a scrappy kid growing up. I never really took, fighting. See, I was always kind of like in and out of gyms growing up. I kind of like, boxing gyms, a little bit of wrestling aside, like always kind of like fucked around with shit like that. And I was always a fan of fights on TV. But, I really started taking it seriously, kind of like when I got to college. I started training more often, just to like get myself in better shape, and really the main reason was, when I was 18, 19, it was just a good way to get in shape. I always kind of, like boxing, MMA, grappling and stuff, and I started getting in better shape really to get like girls and shit like that. I just wanted to get more tone, get some more girls, get some more chicks and shit, just look better physically. And, I started, at the age of like 19, 20, probably this is back like early 2016. I started, sparring with the, guys, amateur fighters, low pro level fighters. And, I started, I started picking it up pretty fast, and I started seeing like, I have, some talent, here, I'm holding my own against guys that are already fighting and stuff, so, I have some talent. And, I just started training more. I started developing more skill, and I just started hearing other fighters' stories, like guys like a Conor McGregor, guys like a different different by like a Miguel Cotto, Floyd Mayweather, all these guys that just listening to their stories and being like, listen, they're just another guy, just like me and you, that just put in work. They literally just work their ass off to get to a certain position, like normal guys, and not too crazy of athletic ability, you know, just average guys, but they just worked at a craft, and they were able to put themselves in a situation and a self-belief in themselves, you know, a confidence to be like, all right, listen, this is some goals I have. I'm going to work my ass up to get there. And like hearing like stories like that, I'm like, I said to myself, I was like, listen, I was like, you could put your position like that if you just put the time and put the work in, and you know, things will come like over time. So I knew like I started so when I was in college, I walked on my wrestling team, you know, because I knew going into my senior year, I walked onto my wrestling team. I always had I was always hitting pads. I was always sparring, boxing, kickboxing, and stuff like jujitsu. I was training for a couple years already, so I was already getting a little bit of a base there. And then I was like, all right, let me get, and I knew wrestling was very heavily dominated in MMA. So I was like, all right, and I never really wrestled growing up, because growing up in the city in Brooklyn, boxing's a lot more, you know, opposed to like growing up in Jersey and PA, where, you know, it's more wrestling oriented. Like you grow up in high school, you usually either wrestle, play football, shit. Wrestling is really not that big in inner city. It was more like Golden Gloves, boxing. So I kind of got a base, you know, just being in and out of boxing gyms, boxing and whatnot, you know, getting into street fights, stupid shit like that. And just enjoying the sport. So I knew going into my senior year of college that I wanted to compete once I got out of college. I wanted to, like, because I didn't know, like, what direction. Like, I thought going into college, maybe I'll go to fucking law school after college. I was always interested in maybe going to law school. But I was like, once I got to college, I was like, damn, I got to fucking read and write a lot. I was like, I'm not too fucking, like, fond of that. You know, I was like, fuck, I don't want to fucking.
You take that LSAT.
Yeah, I was like, nah, I was like, that's a, as, but I was like, you know what? Like, I was like, you know, you have skill in this sport. I was like, let's see what, let's compete. You know, I knew I was gonna compete. Like, let's grab some fights and stuff. You know, when we get out of college. So once I graduated, I mean, you know, I started training out of the gym in Staten Island. So I grabbed my first kickboxing fight there. So, and I was basically, you know, I was training with a couple guys, you know, nothing serious. I was kind of basically training on my own, somewhat getting prepared for those fights, like not realizing like the levels of the game yet. Like it'd be like, oh, I'm a tough kid, I have some skill, like, you know. And I grabbed my first kickboxing fight basically with a friend and my brother in my corner, right? No real coaches behind me and shit. And, you know, I won a fight. I won a decision in a kickboxing fight. And, like, I knew I was going to make the transition to MMA. And I just knew, like, going into 2020, like, towards the end of 2019, I was 22, already had, you know, kickboxing fight 2 months coming out of college. So, you know, I was starting to build a little bit, and I was like, all right, now it's time to make the transition to MMA. But I knew, I was like, listen, I gotta put myself in a position where I'm gonna have the most success, right? So I gotta, you know, find a real team. I gotta find a real, you know, a bunch of fighters I could train with, that could build my skill, and, you know, also just open my eyes to, you know, the actual world of MMA, and, like, you know, develop my skills as good as possible. Just put myself in the best position I can. So I linked up with actually out here. I was just lifting weights at a local LA Fitness, and I ran into a pro fighter out here, Santo Corotolo, who's 5-1 CFFC champion. And yeah, I was just like, hey man, I'm just looking for somewhere to train. Really, you know, I want to level up. I want to, you know, fight at the next level. I want to, you know, fight pro. And he said, all right, man, come with me down to Nick Catone's in Brick, New Jersey one Saturday. So, you know, I linked up, I went down with him one day. I started training there towards the end of 2019. And I linked up with my head coach now, James Meals, and Sean Santella, my jiu-jitsu coach, he's also a former CFFC champion, Brave champion. He's been through the ringer himself. And I linked up with those guys, and I've been at a gym called Driven Gym on basically most of my time, Monday through Fridays throughout the week for the past year and a half now. And, you know, the amount of guys I've been able to, you know, network with and, you know, meet, it's just been incredible, man. And, you know, I just recently had my MMA debut in Miami last month. After, you know, I was able to, you know, I took kind of full advantage of the whole, I was supposed to fight early March of 2020, and the whole COVID situation happened, which was kind of a blessing in disguise for me because, you know, a lot of shit was going on in my personal life towards the end of 2019, and so I was kind of like getting over that and stuff. And then going into 2020, I started training with, legit fighters and stuff, and really, developing my skills. And I saw myself getting better faster. And I was going to grab a fight early March of 2020. The whole COVID situation happened, but, it wound up being better for me because I was coming off of some injuries too from my previous kickboxing fight. Winded up tearing my labrum in my right shoulder in that fight. So I really wasn't like healed until I fought in August of 2019, wound up tearing my shoulder, and I really wasn't even fully healed to like spar until about 2020. And I started training again, full speed the start of the year, and I was gonna fight again in March, but I really wasn't 100% in March. My shoulder was probably like somewhere between 70-75% my right shoulder.
Did you need surgery?
I didn't get surgery. Okay. I just healed it up on my own, did a little bit of PT and just healed it up on my own. I had an ex-girlfriend who had the same kind of injury. She had surgery, and she was like, I was out for like 6 months, like with no contact. And I was like, I kind of don't want to do that.
She massaged it for you?
Yeah, she gave me some massages.
All right.
But so I was like, you know what? I'll just kind of heal it up on my own and just kind of like suck it up and like, just weekly, just check on it and like make sure it's better. So I didn't really get back to like sparring until like later that year anyway, 2020. But I was always developing with, light grappling, working on certain things. And then as 2020 came along, I started ramping up the training again. And then, the fight fell through because of the whole COVID situation. The world was kind of crazy for a little bit. And then, my gym, we kind of just had like underground training basically with just the fighters only because the gyms weren't open to public. So we, had fighters trained up from like late April up and, throughout the whole year I was training, developing my skills, like working with world-class high-level guys, and, learning from them. And, I just, I just knew, if I just put in the time, just stood the course, like stayed focused. I know like, good opportunities would come my way. And, I was able to fight last month down in Miami, which was a great experience. I fought a guy with over 16 kickboxing fights, 2 world titles in kickboxing, and he was undefeated. He was 2-0 undefeated in MMA. And I wound up having a good fight, fought to a decision, lost a decision, but it was a good fight and it was a good experience, not being able to be in the cage for almost, a little over a year and a half, and having that performance like that, I felt like I learned so much from it, and I'm just ready to get back into the gym and level up even more and just stay active, be as active as possible for these next few years or so. Keep on banging fights and keep on improving and stuff.
Absolutely. So I watched the highlights from that fight. Unfortunately, the pay-per-view wasn't really set up as easily as most other, like the UFC and the big promotions. So I saw what you posted, though, and I didn't know that the guy that you fought was a kickboxing world champion. That's crazy because I saw the videos you posted.
Literally had like he was a Brazilian dude. I think he's like 29, 30 years old, but he had over like 15, 16 fights in Brazil, recently moved out to Miami, and then he only had a few MMA fights on his record for being in the US, but doing more research on the guy, he wound up having over like 16 kickboxing fights in Brazil. Had 2 titles there. So but it was good though, because I was like, I needed that. Because I want the toughest fights I could get. Like I'm not just training my ass off just to fight some average guy I could just fight on the fucking street. Like I'm not, I want to fight the best guys I could fight, So it was great to have that feel and feel that, that life, being there with a guy with, a good amount of skill, So
yeah, I'm surprised that you said that though, more so because you looked very impressive from what you posted, and your timing was very on point. You caught him on the chin a few times, and that just makes me that much more confident in you, Pat. The fact that you're facing high-level competition guys, I'm very impressed by that. That was great.
Thank you.
So just going off of that, what would you say that your strong suit is in MMA, right? So you mentioned you did wrestling in college, and
right. Well, I'm like just not my ego, but like I always like to stand and strike, right? I think it might be like that Irish pride, like those kind of fighters, like we just like to stand and bay, you know what I'm saying? Like we like to, but obviously you have to use your head too in fighting, especially when you're fighting at a high level. And I just want to be comfortable wherever the fight goes. I don't want to be like, oh, that's where I'm weak at, or that's where I'm strong. I just want to be able to be in a fight with any kind of style of fighter and be like, listen, I'm comfortable wherever this fight goes. And, I won't panic in any situation. I'll be comfortable anywhere it goes. But obviously, like, preferably if I'm fighting, I like to stand in the kickboxing range and I want to, get into the pocket. I want to scrap, you know what I'm saying? But, I want to listen. I would love to get submission wins. I would love to get fucking TKO with. It's always looking for a finish when I fight, right? No matter what, it's going for the kill. Obviously, TKOs when you could start shut somebody's lights off. That's a fucking great feeling. Being able to just have that switch, put that switch on somebody. And that energy you feel from the room. That that quick. Oh, it's and that rush, man. That rush you get. It's like people have the other scapegoats, like people might skydive, people might fucking motocross, like jump fucking hills and shit, like that's their adrenaline rush. But I don't think there's any other kind of rush than like stepping into a cage with somebody that's also trained and that wants to knock your fucking head off. It's like it's a different kind of energy you get when you get in there. It's like, whoa, like it's like you're living now. Like you better be fucking awake because you're in it right now. You're in the moment. So
would you say, because that the other guy is coming in there to kill you, would you say that you have any sort of level of fear? I've never known you to be a afraid type of guy. You're always very brave and ready to go. But would you say that? Yeah.
There's so many different emotions that go on throughout a fight camp. So obviously, like the most laid back time is in between fights. You could develop your skills. You don't have a fight lined up. You could just develop your skills, work on different things you might want to work on and shit. It's once you get a date confirmed, once you go like, all right, on this date, let's say, all right, July 24th, I'm booked to fight. Now there's a switch in my head that goes, all right, like now it's go time. Now it's like you're preparing for war now. Because at that date, at that time, you're going to be stepping into a cage with somebody that's also training to, knock you the fuck out. So, like, there's a switch that goes on my head mentally that, all right, like, we need to get focused now, get prepared. And there's so many different emotions. Like, there's an excitement emotion because, obviously, like, this is what I want to do, right? I want to put myself in that situation if I didn't want to be there, right? It's like, you're not forced to fight. You're doing this because this is a choice you're making. So obviously there's a level of excitement too. I'm like, oh yeah, nice. I get to compete. I get to like work towards a goal. I get to work towards something now. And then there's a little bit of like a little bit like a slight like not fear like but a little bit of fear, a little bit of doubt. Of the unknown creeps in, right? Because you're like, listen,
healthy fear.
Yeah, a healthy fear. Like not so much fear because it's like a little bit of because I wouldn't say like I don't fear any man. Like there's not somebody I'm like, oh, I'm afraid of that dude. But
Nagano.
Yeah, Nagano. I want to sign a contract to fight that man. But so there's that little bit of good feel, but it's that little bit of doubt that creeps into your head because you're putting your like fighting at that level and just fighting in general, like you're putting yourself out there to be vulnerable, right, to the world, right, like to your friends, your family, and stuff. Like you're going into the unknown. Like, and you might be saying like, oh, I'm fighting, like you're putting yourself out to the world. Like, listen, this is what I want to do. I'm trained so hard to like achieve a certain goal. And, things might not go your way all the time. You know what I'm saying? But, and, there's people that are, that are like, oh man, I hope you do well and shit, but it's, that little bit of doubt that, hey, like, what about if I got knocked out? What about if, like, listen, like you're going in there with somebody that, so there's always that little bit of doubt of the unknown, like, oh, hey, you don't know what's going to happen in those moments, right? Like you're going into a fist fight with somebody, right? So you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So there's that little bit of fear and doubt when it's like, oh, hey man, what if I get knocked out? And, I'm fucking, people start making fucking memes of me on Instagram and shit, like, shit like that. Like, there's always that little bit in the back of your head. But, I try to like push that, I try to keep that there a little bit too, to motivate me a little bit. Like I try to keep that doubt there, that little bit of, that people be like, oh, fucking, what are you doing? You're not that good anyway. Like, I try to keep that there to motivate me in training, to, make me wake up at 5 o'clock to go on a run, to, to be like, to prove those people that I feel like already doubted me wrong. And for the people that are supporting me, to have, to give them something to be proud of, that like, all right, listen, man, this kid, he's working his ass off, and he's going into a fucking, he's going into some other guy's backyard to fight this dude, and represent, what he's about in, his city and shit. So I try to use that doubt too. Wait, I got somebody calling me. Wait,
So,
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hang up on him.
Yeah, I did. So, I try to use both sides as motivation in my training and shit. Because you are walking. That's where that fear comes from. It's just the unknown. Because if I knew the outcome of every fight before it happened, I wouldn't be so fucking nervous. But it's that, of, all right, well, you want to win so bad, right? You want to show your hard work and everything, all the sacrifices you make. Because I work a full-time job. So any free time I do have, I dedicate to being in the gym and working on my craft, right? So I basically have 2 full-time jobs, because I'm working to make one of those jobs like my life, so I could just train all day long and just focus full time on fighting. So I'm trying to put myself in a position there, which is hard. That's the hardest position. That's the hardest level for fighters, is being able to fight your way to put yourself in a position where you could just focus on fighting, and there's some people that I know that they don't have to work a full-time job, like they're not, so I have to work double, I feel like sometimes, because I have to make certain sacrifices, like just this past year alone, like the amount of times I had to miss out on just like a piece of ass or something like that, just because, listen, I had to be in the gym or something, like, or I had to miss out on going to a bar and hang out with friends or a club, because it's like I had to be in the gym that night on a Friday night, because I'm working 9 to 5 on Friday, and the only time I can get to the gym is from 6 to 9, and and then I'm dead tired after I train. So it's like, you got to make certain, especially where I'm at now, I had to realize, hey, listen, if you really want this and you really want to be successful, you're going to have to make these certain sacrifices that are going to be hard at times, because, I obviously want to have fun, you want to enjoy life too, but, my goals right now, I'm like, listen, it's either, you want success at this, or you're going to do it half-ass, and, you're going to get hurt in this business, because this is not a business where you can do shit half-ass, because like, listen, and, I grew up playing team sports and shit like that, but, when you step into that cage, it's just you in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's you against him. And, it's, if you're not prepared, man, you're going to get fucking hurt. And, I just feel like it's the most vulnerable thing you could be doing, because you're putting yourself in the most vulnerable situation, right? You're like people, I guess they don't see your hard work all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes people just see you in the cage on that night, and they're like, well, he's a fighter, but they don't see the sacrifices you make, like, outside of the cage, and what you do daily and weekly to put yourself in a position to be in there and have success in there. So it's, that vulnerability is what sometimes puts fear into me a little bit, but I use that fear in my training, and I just make it motivate me, and I feel more alive. Like, when I get a date announced, like, I'm just like, all right, like, you got to work towards something. Like, I feel more energy. Like, when I wake up in the morning, I'm alive. I'm like, all right, you got to work today. You got to outwork that dude that is looking that you're fighting in 2 months.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, my follow-up question was going to be, what drives you? Because I see those Instagram posts on your stories in the morning, like dues are paid and stuff like that. But that pretty much sums it up, man. I think, unless you have something else you want to say, that
no, yeah, it's the just you want to show, display your hard work to the world, right? Because not everybody sees, like, the sacrifices you make on a daily basis, right? Like, I feel like I make so many at a guy my age, I feel like I make so many sacrifices, that I could be, like, going to hunt, for more girls, for more ass in my life, right? I could be, like, trying to, like, fucking, I'm like, damn, bro, I could fucking be, going out to the club right now trying to get some pussy, right? But but it's like, those sacrifices that people don't see, that's what I want. That's why you want to win so bad, because you want to show, like, hey, listen, I'm working so hard for something. I want this success so bad at something that it's like, sometimes it might not always go your way. And that's like the fear of fear of knowing like, hey, I might be working so hard at something, so fucking diligent, making sacrifices, losing relationships with people because, you just got to put time into other things. And at the end of the day, knowing in the back of your head that it might not go your way at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So much, and it still might not go your way at the end of the day. So that's that little bit of fear, but that fear motivates me to be like, all right, I got to get this extra run in. I got to do something extra to like, sure that I'm as fully confident. And with that confidence, like with knowing I'm putting in the time, making the sacrifices needed, that builds my confidence too, to know like, oh, this guy ain't going to take what I'm working for. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going in there and I'm getting what's mine.
Yeah, that reminds me of the famous Nate Diaz. Conor McGregor, you're taking everything I'm working for.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight your fucking ass.
Yeah, that's it.
Love it.
So gonna get a little bit deep here, a little bit personal, and it's cool, how you want to answer this, but when you have those moments of, possibly self-doubt or maybe a little bit of that feeling of vulnerability, is there someone in your life that you fall back on? Whether it be your brother or your parents or a friend or a coach?
Right. Yeah, I have a strong team around me and strong coaches that worked with so many great fighters. So anything like fight related, kind of like any doubts like fight related, I kind of I talk to my coaches about, talk to teammates about it, and because we all kind of have similar mindsets, fighters, like we all kind of go through the same emotions and stuff like that, so we can all relate to each other pretty well. And I get advice from coaches who've been through it and have seen it all, so I hear advice, and I know like whatever advice they give me, it's going to be good advice, so I kind of take that. And I just try to keep when I come home, I try to keep my mind off of fighting a little bit too. Like when I'm with my family, I try to keep that as a time of like, all right, peace, a little bit of a Zen state of mind. Like try to put time away from fight, because your whole life you're thinking about it. Like every day when I'm at work, I'm thinking of training, I'm thinking of fighting and shit. So it's good to like when I'm with my family and stuff, like be like, all right, this is a time to just sit back and go away from fighting a little bit and just think about what's going on in my life and shit. And especially with the whole situation that happened this past year, like it opened up your eyes and anything can happen like that. So and fighting, people, some fighters might say like fighting's my, and I get that, like fighting is so important. Like I'm so passionate about the fight game. I'm so passionate about martial arts and just the fight game in general. I love it. I love everything about it, the build up, the training, and everything. But fighting is just a thing that I do in my life. It's not my life. It's just a part of my life. This is something I do in my life. And, I love doing other shit too. Like I love, obviously playing other sports. I play baseball, shit growing up. So like, I just love doing all this stuff and all the activities too, sometimes to get my mind off of fighting. But, my true passion is fighting, but it's something I do in my life, so it's anything that I can do, either it's fishing, whatever the fuck it might be, just getting some fresh air, going on a hike to get my mind, off fighting for an hour or two. It's good, and that's how I get my mind off. Sometimes if I have a fight lined up, just get my mind off it for a little, because you know what, on that day, you're going to be fighting in the cage on that date anyway. So why stress out about it every day? It's like, yeah, this is what you signed up for. So sometimes that's what I do too.
I love that you brought up fishing, because fishing is such a hot topic in the UFC world right now. You had Gregor Gillespie saying he's the best fisher in the UFC last season.
Man, I'm the best fisher. Now, Gregor Gillespie's definitely the best fisher in MMA.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, that guy went for a fishing trip and a hike the day after his big fight. So.
Yeah, that guy's a good fisher, man. He knows what the fuck he's doing. I'm not that. I'll just fish like I ain't that big into it, but I'll just hang out just to get some fresh air and chill out, for a little bit.
Is that where you would say that you find your peace in between fights is fishing, or do you have a hobby that you fall back on?
Activities too, like it's not just that, but whatever could just get my mind off of fighting for a little bit, because I'm always thinking about fighting. Like it's something I'm always thinking about. I mean, I'm either watching film, watching fights, so it's always gonna be like I'm always gonna be thinking about it. Like I could be fucking chilling out fishing and thinking about fucking a training session, an upcoming training session I have. Like tomorrow, like, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna do this. Like, so anything I could do just to get my mind off of, fucking war for like a little bit, it's nice. Either if it's fucking just chilling out with a girl for a night, whatever the fuck the case might be, just whatever could just get my mind off of combat for a couple hours. It's just nice. It's a nice breather and a reset,
Right. So just to go back to your training and like especially weight cutting for your last fight, because I noticed you were grinding to make weight, and I think I remember you saying that your opponent didn't make weight for that fight.
Yeah, so he missed he missed weight initially by about 2.5 pounds, and then he missed the second time by 0.5 pound. But I was just like, it's fine. What are we gonna do? Like, we ain't getting paid, so it's not like I could take a percentage of your purse anyway, right? So I'm like, what?
How much the weight gap was?
So the fight was at 35, which is a tough cut for me. 35 is a tough. My last 2 kickboxing fights were at 45. So this was my first time getting that at 35 and competing the next day after. So I haven't weighed 135 since I'm like a fucking freshman in high school. So it was tough. It was definitely a shock getting down there. A mental struggle too, physical struggle. I was hurting for a good 2 weeks leading up to that fight, and I had a cold too, like about 10 days out. Like I had an infection on my hand. I cut up my hand, training, and I had a little infection on my hand, like literally a week, leading into weigh-in. So I kind of had to work around that and, kind of suffer through that a little bit. But, it was definitely eye-opening to see, like, what these high-level guys do in that weight cut. And, like, this being, like, my first real tough weight cut, yeah, it opened my eyes to, like, what these guys go through, man. And, like, the toughness that these guys have. Like, I have so much more respect. Like, it just gave me so much more respect for these fighters and these guys that have been doing it for so long. That I'm like, damn, man, it's no joke. Because I mean, I'll walk around usually like anywhere from like 155 to 160, and I have a six pack when I'm walking around. When I'm at 155, I have a 6-pack already. So it's like, it's not like I'm like out of shape. And then to cut that extra, 15 to 20 pounds, basically, it's no joke, man. I mean, you seen the pictures of me at the weigh-ins. Like, I look like, I was sucked in. I was skinny as fuck. And, I like to, it made me appreciate fucking food a lot more too. Like, once you're done with your weigh-ins and you weigh in and you fight, you're like, dude, I'm going to fucking eat some food right now. I'm going to enjoy myself.
That's my next question, right? So I remember seeing all your posts, especially the 2 weeks leading up to the fight, which I imagine, like you said, that's when you were cutting the most weight.
Yeah, that's the hard times, yeah.
I'd see like a burger and fries or a slice
of
pizza.
I was with my time, man. I go through my Instagram feed and Crazy Food Guru, it's on Instagram. They just put up all that juicy shit, bro. And then when you're cutting weight, bro, all you can think about is just a fucking cheeseburger, bro. All you want is a cheeseburger. And it was kind of a joke mentally with myself. Like, I'm just kind of fucking with myself mentally, but I'm also like having a laugh at it. But like, I'm fucking losing weight, but I fucking wish I had that fucking burger right now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm fucking mentally, I'm like, yeah, come on. I'm like, yeah, like I'm playing a game with myself too. Like, like let's, I'm just having fun with the whole process of it, because that process sucks. Like the cutting weight part, like the fight's the fun part, like you get to like go in and fight and have some fun, but the real struggle is the weight cut, like getting your body, that's the mental struggle there. And, I was just trying to enjoy the process however way I can, and like to have some fun with myself. I just every now and then just post up a nice fucking meal. I'm like, I wish I had that shit right now, bro. That shit looks good.
That was hilarious, dude. And I was rooting for you. Like, dude, I can't wait till this man has a cheeseburger again.
Yeah, I can't wait till this guy hits the scale so he can eat something.
Yes, get him a cheeseburger. Was that your first meal after the fight? Was it a cheeseburger?
So after the weigh-ins, I still wanted to kind of eat clean. I didn't want to fuck up my whole like my stomach and just like put a cheeseburger into my body like right away and be like, oh shit, like that just fucked me up. So I had like a nice, so I did a lot of like, I put a lot of water back into my body again, because like a good 10 pounds of that weight cut was just water weight.
Right. And
so I drank about 2 Pedialytes, had some water, about a gallon, and then had like some, I would slowly eat maybe a couple granola bars just to like, slowly eat and digest, because you can't eat right away because you'll start shitting and your body will just be in shock.
Yeah.
So, and then later that night, I had a nice like steak dinner with like a potato and spinach, and like, so I ate pretty healthy. But then, right after the fight, like that night, I went to a strip club. I was in a strip club bar in Miami and shit like that. So I was slapping assly an hour after I got out of the cage. I had like fucking McDonald's that night, So I just, enjoyed myself. I had some like fucking 2 quarter pounders, some fucking,
That cheeseburger.
Yeah, and then Chipotle the next day. I was like, all right, I'm gonna fucking eat now. I got back up to 160 in about 5 days after my fight.
That's insanity.
Yeah. So I was in the cage. I didn't gain too much weight because a main reason was because it was the first time I was really cutting that much weight to get. So the more times I do it, the more times my body will get adjusted to doing that process, right? Cutting the weight and then putting it back on. I only put on close to about 10 pounds after weigh-in, which I thought I would be putting on a little bit more. My goal was to be somewhere between 152 to 155 in the cage. Then I thought I would put on anywhere from 15 to 18 pounds the next day. I only wanted to put on about 10 to like 12. So I was about 145, 146 in the cage, which was light compared to where I usually train at. I usually train around like 153, 154. And that's
how did that feel?
I felt a little bit skinnier than I usually did, like in the cage, which, I mean, the more times I cut weight and the more times I do that process, the more I'll get better at it. Like, the more, like, my body will get adjusted to it, and I just know what to put in my body, and I know where I should be at. So that's, again, it's just all a learning process, too, at this point. Like, everything's like, a learning curve. So I was probably like 45, 46 when I got in the cage, which was kind of light for me. And then, after the fight, I got back up to like 160, and within the next coming days, which was easy. It's easy to put back on weight than it is to like lose weight. But yeah, comfortably when I'm training, anywhere from like 55 to like 60, I walk around comfortably when I'm in shape training. Anywhere above 160, I know I'm kind of getting a little bit out of shape because I'm not that big of a guy either. I'm like just touching 5'8", and I'm not that, I'm not too thick, so yeah, like the 35 is a tough cut, but it's from right now, it's manageable. I see myself in the coming years probably moving up in weight, but I'm gonna try to cut that weight for as long as I can, healthy wise. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I was really impressed, man. The willpower just to not eat the food that you want to eat.
Tough, man. That was the struggle. And like I didn't realize how tough it was gonna be until I was doing it. I'm like, well, yeah, this sucks, man. But you knew like where you're signing up for, but you're like, all right, yeah. When you're doing it, you're like, yeah, this sucks, man. I see why guys like Khabib are like, yeah, I'm retired. I'm not cutting weight. Like, you could see why. Like, you're like when I was doing it, I'm like, well, I understand why this guy is like, I'm good right now. Like, I'll retire for right now. But it's not like he's afraid of fighting anybody. Guy's like, yeah, I'll fight anybody. Guy's the best fighter in the world at lightweight. That motherfucker doesn't want to cut weight.
Yeah, but that guy can't make lightweight. This is controversial. He didn't make weight in his last fight. He didn't make weight. Well, he missed it by 2 or 3 pounds.
Yeah, well, listen, the scales, they said 55, so 55 it is,
but
right?
If you watch the weigh-in, that scale won't move if he gets on top of it. It gets in and the thing starts moving, and the guy's like, oh, yeah, 55. I mean, he missed it by a good 2 pounds. He just didn't want to deal with another Khabib canceled fight or have any of that issue. I'm telling you, if you go back and watch that, Khabib didn't make it. And here's the thing is, maybe this has something to do with it, maybe it didn't, but maybe as he's getting a little bit older, maybe he's struggling to make that weight, and he's like, I can't move up to 170. Fuck it, I'm done. Like, I would have been done anyway, but now I'm definitely done because of how brutal that cut was.
Yeah, as you get older, it gets harder to cut weight. That's why I will eventually move up to 45 as I do get older. I'll be 24 at the end of the month, so I'm still pretty young. I can still make the weight healthy. I see myself making this weight for at least another 5 years, probably. But that's it's unhealthy, man. It's not fun, man.
It's bad for your kidneys.
Yeah, but like I'm telling, like the feeling, like I was very edgy when I was cutting the weight. Like I would snap at people, like just like people would ask me simple questions, and I was just like edgy. I was just like just not all your functions are working when you're like cutting out. So it's very and on top of that, you still got to train. You still got to sweat to drop the. You still got to put out energy while you're dropping it. So it's a very dangerous thing to do, and like I could see that, like just experience it, like I could see like how it's dangerous. I'm like, oh yeah, this, like I don't feel good. I haven't felt good in a fucking week. Like holy shit. And on top of it, I'm fighting all fucking infections. I'm like, dude, this is horrible. But I'm like, I gotta do this every fucking time. It's gonna be this tough every time. But obviously some weight cuts are gonna be smoother than others. But like you could see why guys are like at certain points, and certain guys are like, dude, I don't want to cut weight anymore. Like guys like Nate Diaz is like, fuck it, I'll fight at 170 because I'm not cutting at 155 anymore. It's like and when you get to a certain age, it's just unobtainable too. Like, and that's the thing about, like, listen, if I can make the rules, I just be like, I'd be like, no weight cut and just fight guys within a 10-pound radius of yourself. Like if you walk,
So I was just gonna say that was a question I had for you. How do you feel about like how they do over at one where they have those hydration tests?
I think
and, there's not as much cutting.
yeah, I think one is like, I mean, they have the best method for it at the time, but still, it's not like the best. Like I mean, like if it's up to most athletes, and most athletes don't mind cutting weight. Like most wrestlers in the sport, like they've been doing it their whole life, and they find it. Oh, it's the fight before the fight. Like it gets me mentally fucking ready to. And I'm like, dude, like I don't want to fucking have to cut 20 pounds before I with cage the night before to fight somebody. It's not. I'm not gonna feel the best I could possibly feel if I just cut 20 pounds a couple of days leading up to this fucking fight. It's like holy shit. It's like I'd rather just fight at what I walk around at, not have to like just be in shape and not have to worry about a weight cut and just fight somebody around my weight. It's like that's what I wish I could do, but I mean it's just not the sport at the moment. It's just it's just is what it is. And then like if I walked around, if I fought at what I walked around at, I'd be fighting at lightweight, and I'll be fighting guys with most of the time with a decent attributes on me, decent amount of size, a decent amount of weight, and a decent amount of length on me. So I'm most of the time always going to be at a disadvantage when I get into the cage. I just fought at like 55 and was like, fuck it, I'll not cut weight. Which, I mean, at this level, at the certain, this guys I move around, these guys I spar with at 55, I'm like, I could beat this guy. I beat him in the gym, so I could, I know I could beat him in a fight. But it's just when you get to the higher levels, when you start fighting like, high level pro guys, it's just you got guys cutting weight from 180, 190 pounds to make 55. It's like, dude, that guy has 20 pounds on me, and and you feel it more in the grappling exchanges. That's where the weight comes into play.
Right.
Like not striking, because I could piece up a 55. I sometimes piece up 70 pounders in the gym because I'm quicker and I can move around. I cut angles quicker than them. But when you feel the weight when you get into grappling exchanges, like when you start grappling, then you start feeling the weight. That's when you're working more when they're not working as hard because they got the weight advantage on you. So, but at 35, like I'm. And not from people I train with too, they're like, dude, at 35, like you're big and you're strong at 35. Like you're a big, like powerful 35, or not tall wise, because I'm only like, there are guys taller than me, but power wise, like I definitely feel it myself, like in grappling exchanges and, like just striking exchanges too. I definitely have a power advantage at 35 because I'm strong. I feel for 45. Like I grapple with a lot of 45ers and 55ers. I like to grapple with a guys like usually a weight class or two above me to get that feel, the extra weight in training. And when I go with a guy in my weight class, I'm like, this feels a lot easier now. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, all right, now this feels a lot better. But like I'll be grappling with guys that are 45 and 55, and they're like, dude, you're fucking like you fight at 35, like you're fucking strong for 45 and 55. So I feel like I have that advantage in strength at 35. It's just those cuts get tough, and sometimes I know certain cuts could be tougher, and that could definitely affect you in fights. But I think that also played a lot in my mind in my last fight too, was the weight cut. Like, how am I gonna perform? Like, it's my first time cutting at it. Like, how is my body gonna feel the next day? Like, so a lot of different things were going into my mind. Now that I experienced it, and now that I know like certain things, like I might have my weight a little bit lower, like maybe 6 weeks out, because I was still pretty heavy about 4 to 6 weeks out. I was about 156, 157 pounds, about 4 or 5 weeks out from the fight. And I was like, damn, like I was gradually dropping weight, but maybe I'll get like maybe to like 48, 49, 47 about 4 or 5 weeks, so the cut's not so bad like earlier on, and maybe I'll feel a little bit better like in the cage because I didn't cut so much weight 7 to 10 days out. Like I gradually did it over a more of a space of time, which I feel like I probably have to do at 35 because it's a tougher cut on me. But I would like to, especially at this level, until I get my until I get a pro contract, maybe get some catch weights at like 40 or even fight at 45, just to so I don't have to cut that weight. I'm not getting paid to cut the weight right now. So it's like, if I'm going to cut that weight, because it is a hard weight cut for me, it's not easy, bro. I have to physically prepare myself for at least 6 to 8 weeks to get down there. Like it's not like a week thing I could do. Like I can't just make that weight in a week from now. I have to prepare myself for an 8 week, 8 week process. So if I'm going to do that, I'd rather get paid to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't want to do that just for fucking some high fives after I get off the scale. Like I want to get paid for it, So, hopefully I could get a couple catch weights up until I get a pro contract, and maybe just it'll help out my performance too. When I get into the cage, I don't have to cut those extra 5 pounds, and that could definitely, it won't hurt me not cutting those 5 pounds, so it can only help. So until, I have a time frame for myself, by the age of 26, I would like to have that pro contract. I'll be 24 by, the end of this month, May 22nd, I'll be 24. But, a goal of mine, a realistic goal is within a year and a half, get a pro contract, start making some decent money, start building up the resume in the pro scene, and then, take it from there, man. Like, I'd like, my goal is, like, but before the age of 30, be fighting in the UFC at least,
That's awesome.
Or at least Bellator, ONE FC, any high PFL, whatever, wherever the money's at. Because I'm not like, obviously, ego-wise, if you want to be in the UFC, right? That's the premier. Like, everybody knows UFC, right? But, if you're an MMA fan, like, PFL, Bellator, there's great fighters in all those organizations that beat fighters, too, So, I just want to be smart, too. Like, I'm here to, obviously, like, I want to get paid, man. You're like, you're not just fighting. Yeah, you're fighting for, for your legacy and for you in general, right? You're doing it for yourself, but you want to make as much money as you can while you're here, right? So I'll go wherever the fuck the money is. If it's Bellator, ONE FC, UFC, wherever the money's at, that's wherever I'm going to make the most money, I'll go.
Yeah, you're putting your body on the line. You have to get paid.
Yeah, you gotta get guys like Floyd and, they say best. It's like, listen, you can love me, hate me, whatever the fuck, as long as you pay me, man, because I'm getting in there, I'm making the sacrifices, I'm stepping in that cage, so I want to get paid, bro, because, for what these guys do, and just the respect that I have for these guys deserve to get paid, man, for what they do and the sacrifices they make on a daily basis. And it's a fucking hard life to live, man. Being a professional mixed martial artist, it's a hard, tough life to fucking live. So these guys deserve to get paid, man. They deserve what, if you're fighting at that level, especially, you had to make sacrifices to get to that level, and you had to work your ass off to get to that level. And those guys deserve to get paid, man, because it's a hard life to live.
So speaking of that, last question. We're talking about getting paid. We're talking about weight. Give us your thoughts on Jon Jones.
Jon Jones, he looks fucking great right now. Paid him.
Yeah,
paid him. Yeah, he look lit, but he's bulking up. You know what I'm saying? Like, he usually walks around at like 218, 220. He's quite close to 250 right now. He's gonna do more mixed martial arts training and tone up the body, but you have to get that initial bulk to put that size on. He's gonna start leaning out and getting more cut with the more martial arts training he's doing. But he said he's been just focusing on weight training mostly and just putting on size and shit. So, but that guy's a man.
Maybe that's why he's asking for so much money, to stall for more time.
Well, yeah, I think he's doing it smart. I think what he's doing is smart. Like, dude. Like, we've seen, we know Jon is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, right? So it's like, and the fight that he has in front of him with Francis is the scariest fight he could possibly have, right? So, but he's doing it the smartest way you can as a martial artist. He's putting on the size that he feels he needs to put on for the fight. He's not rushing it. He's putting on the size. He's going to make sure he keeps on developing his martial arts, because there's no rush to get into a cage with that fucking gorilla, right? But he's doing it smart. But if you ask anybody who's the technically better mixed martial artist, Jon Jones is. That Nagano has the X factor, though. He has the power. He has that lights out fucking power where if he touches you, he has that touch of death where you're going to sleep if he touches you, like clean. And Jon knows that. Jon realizes that. But he's also being smart. I think he's preparing the right way. He's putting on the weight that he feels he needs to put on to fight a guy like Francis. And he's gonna continue. There's no rush to get into a cage with him. And he's also holding out because he wants to get paid as much money as he can by the UFC to fight that freak. Because why wouldn't you, right? Like, if you're saying fucking 50 mil, UFC saying maybe 10. All right, he's waiting to meet somewhere in the middle, which he deserves. That if I'm Jon Jones, yeah, give that motherfucker $25 million at least to fight that dude, right? Like, you can look at some of these NFL contracts and MLB contracts and shit. All right, yeah, I get that's a certain skill, but all right, you're gonna tell me you're gonna pay a guy $75 million a year to fucking swing a bat, but you won't pay that fucking guy $25 million to step into a cage with that fucking gorilla that's trying to take off his head, I'd fucking pay that guy $100 million because everybody's gonna watch that fucking fight.
True.
I don't know.
The real last question. And
I definitely think. Listen, I definitely think that fight's worth John getting paid for. Listen, like, with the career that guy's had. Listen, if the guy wants a big payday, he deserves it, man. Against a guy like that, why not pay him, bro? Pay him because you're gonna make money off the fight as a business. People are gonna buy that fight.
It's must-watch TV, absolutely, for any UFC fan.
So I think, he deserves to get paid for it. So
yeah, and the amount of money and the amount of views that they're gonna get, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ceiling is on that. How they can make it affordable for the UFC, but worthwhile for John. But yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think 10 million is anything to scoff at. But
no, it's just not. But I think if John wants more, give him a little bit more. Fuck it.
Yeah. So the question on everybody's mind after they've sat through this interview, what's next for Pat Ball? Do you have another fight coming up anytime soon? Do you have anything?
Well, I don't have it confirmed at the moment. I'm hoping to within the next coming weeks. I'm planning on jumping back into a fight camp literally right after my birthday. So my birthday's the 22nd. It's a Saturday. I plan on jumping back into a fight camp basically on the 24th, that Monday. And I've heard some some word maybe July 24th might be a date in Memphis, Tennessee. If not, maybe August or something like that. So I'm looking for the next one to be probably around like late July, early August. That would be a ideal time frame for me. Because my schedule is crazy right now at the moment because I have overtime going on at work right now. So I really have to manage my trainings because I'm sometimes every other day I'm working 9 to 10 at night. So I wake up in the morning at 6 to just go on a half-hour run just to get a little sweat to make sure the weight's like on check and shit. And I'm working a 13-hour day. So
just so everyone knows, this is 12:30 on a Friday that we're getting.
Yeah.
He's doing a full day.
That's it. And then I've been going all fucking day long today. And then so that'll probably be that's gonna be my schedule up until about early July. So I really won't have a back to a normal 9 to 5 schedule up until about July. But I'm gonna make sure I'm staying in shape and still, getting the certain amount of training I need in up until then. And then it'll be about 4 solid weeks of just 2 days and shit like that. Preparing for this next fight because I'm really I'm focused on getting to finish this next fight. I'd be disappointed in myself if I didn't get to finish this next fight. But that's the goal every fight. But coming off a decision loss, like I'm really pushing for a finish this next fight. Really good performance I want to have, and then hopefully just bang out another one before the end of the year, before the holiday season, so I could at least fight 3 times this year and really just start building the resume up and just be active and just keep fighting and keep living the dream and just keep doing it.
That's awesome, man. We're all rooting for you. I think that loss column is going to stay a 1 for the rest of your life. I can't see you losing another.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, I hope so too, man.
No, we're all rooting for you, kid.
Bro, it's a tough world out there, so we're gonna try to keep it that way,
Absolutely, but we're all rooting for you, and we really appreciate you coming on the show. Just plug whatever social media you use the most. Is it Instagram? Plug it real quick.
I'm just basically usually on just like Instagram, underscore at Pat Ball on Instagram. That's it. I post usually most of my fight information on there and stuff, on stories and stuff like that. And then other than that, usually I'm in isolation, man, in the dojo working on the craft, man.
Love it. Well, Pat, thanks for joining us. We were very happy to have you as a guest.
And I look forward to being on again sometime.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to have you back.
All right, guys. Take care, man. And, it was a great chatting with you.
For sure.
Have a great night, brother.
Thank you.